All right, this is the introductory, or let's say the first of, let's say, I'm thinking 7 to 10 series of a tutorial of Elliott wave analysis. And in this one, I just want to give a quick bio or introduction of Ralph Nelson Elliott. He lived in the USA from 1871 to 1948. And he is the father of Elliott waves, which is named after him. He was an accountant, and he became ill and needed something to spend his time. And he started manually graph charting stocks. And I think for someone like him of his caliber and of some of the other great minds, he had a mind for observation. He was clearly a phenomenal and astute observer of information and data and put it together and identify a method that measured the reflection of mass psychology, if you will, man's social nature. And he had it so that it was intrinsically related to a mathematical law that I just put out. And that law of nature is expressed in Fibonacci sequence. And as I also detailed out in my earlier blog post on the tutorial for using Fibonacci ratios with Elliott waves, it really had more to do with the golden ratio 0.618. And his waves, which the Elliott waves, really he had it so that the ebb and flow of these waves, the growth and the decay of these waves, were independent of news and events. And that is really the most difficult thing for one to truly believe and actually apply and trade on. It's almost like telling someone the inverse of a natural law. I mean, we all are fully immersed in a world where there is Newtonian cause and effect. If a bad news comes out, stocks fall. If a good news comes out, stocks rise. But I think what Ralph Nelson Elliott was so good at was thinking in the abstract. I think he truly understood that technical analysis was a quantum event. It was not a Newtonian event. It is a quantum event. Newtonian goes horizontal in time, but quantum, from a thought process, is vertical in time. Time almost doesn't matter. And some of you might be kind of twisting your brains right now trying to understand what I just said. Believe me, it took me years to adapt and fully accept and then believe and apply the fact that the growth and decay of these Elliott waves, the ebbs and flows, are 100% independent of news and events. Now, he called some of these waves, I think in his book he calls it actionary waves. He called the whole set a motive, M-O-T-I-V-E. And he often referred to this as a progress, the progressive waves. And these waves he called, the actionary waves are 1, 3, and 5. As one can see here, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, and 5 he called actionary or motive progressive waves. Now 2 and 4 I call them as retracement waves because it retraces the actionary progression. But I believe he called these corrective or reactionary waves. And these waves 2 and 4 are that type. They are reactionary waves. And they both occur in 3 waves. A, B, C. You know what? I'm going to make this bigger. Darn it. This deeper. He called it and these were oops. And for wave 4 also. Okay. So 1, 3, and 5 called actionary waves. Okay. Reactionary waves were 2 and 4. That's important to understand from a very basic distinction between 1, 3, 5 and 2 and 4. Basically 2 and 4 regress. They're regressionary waves. So you can just simply call it corrective waves. That's what I usually call it, or retracement waves. Okay. He often called wave 2 as the interruptive wave because it interrupts the flow from 1 to 3. And the whole complete sequence, the complete advance and decline, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 5 combined together, or how many waves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that's the mistake. There's a total of 8 waves. And that is a common mistake that most novices make. They count, oh, but I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. Where's the other 3? And so then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then confusion ensues. You have to remember that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are always followed by corrective retracement. Now let's count the waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 waves total in a complete advance and decline, you can say. So let's try to apply this right here in this chart. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, once you start trying to labeling it on your own, you kind of run into, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Do I do it like this? This is what I often see in the novices who are posting some of the charts. They're getting the concept. They know that it's a progressionary, actionary process of the 1, 3, and 5. But there are certain rules between each wave, and that rule has to be followed. So I'm just going to leave this as an incorrect wave for now. We'll resolve it later. Now these 8-wave complete advance and decline set, Aaron Elliott said that these are fractals. And they operate at all degrees of trend or time frames. So you'll see these complete set of 8 waves in daily 4-hour charts. You'll be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1-hour chart. I can see it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 minute chart. Well, let's grow this out. Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they occur at all degrees of trends. And they act as a fractal. And he also had labeling system of these degree of trends. You'll see it here. I cut and pasted this. And it goes from grand supercycle, which covers hundreds of years at a time. Supercycle, multi-decades. Cycle, 1 year to several years, or even several decades under some Elliott wave counts. And Bitcoin is currently in the cycle wave topping, in my opinion. The big top, wave 5 top, is a cycle wave, cycle degree of trend, topping. Primary will be a few months to maybe a couple of years. In that time frame, you call these primary counts, primary waves. Intermediate will be weeks to months. Minor will be to weeks, minute, days, minuet, sub-minuet. There's micros, some micros for those smaller minute cycles, waves. Now I said earlier that this count is incorrect. That is because these 8 waves, which is a fractal that occurs at all degrees of trend and time frames, therefore, these 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, must occur according to a certain set of rules. And I've given this introduction quite often already, but since this is a tutorial, I'm just going to go back to the very basics. Rule number 1 is that wave 2, the bottom of wave 2, does not overlap the start of wave 1. So if I said, get rid of this. In this case, if I said 1, 2, 3, that would be incorrect because 2 is below 1. 2 cannot be equal or lesser than the start of wave 1. Very important. The other one is wave 4. And look, I even got it wrong here. Shame on me. 1, 2, 3. Wave 4, the bottom of wave 4 cannot overlap with the top of wave 1. Cannot have it like this. Wave 4 must be above the top of 1. The next rule is we have the actionary waves are 1, 3, and 5. Amongst the actionary waves, wave 3 cannot be the shortest. Okay, and I'm not writing these rules here. I'm hoping you'll take notes with paper and pencil. Or repetitive viewing of this tutorial video will be helpful too. Wave 3 cannot be the shortest amongst 1, 3, and 5. If you have it as that is incorrect, because wave 3 is the shortest. You cannot have wave 3 as the shortest. Now, the other guideline to have is when you have the full impulse set, the total advance and decline set, advance set, and you draw a trend line along the top of their peaks. They usually occur within a channel. This would be a vintage classic Elliott wave, 5 waves. Oh, yeah, 5 waves. So they are typically bound within the channel of these two parallel lines. That would be a vintage impulse. Many don't, but they would still qualify as impulse oriented. Now, either 1, 3, or 5 will be extended. So in this example, which wave is extended? That's right, wave 3 will be the extended one. If you have this, which wave is extended? Can't tell? I'll make it more obvious. Right? And in the earlier tutorial on Fibonacci relationships, I went through how that extension of 1 interplays with the remaining length of 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is 3. I gave you 1 extension, and now I'll give you fifth extension. Wave 5 will be extended. And this I showed you in the earlier example for Fibonacci tutorial. And look at here too. Look how extended the wave 5 is. My God. And this is not ether. This is now wise. This is a very unique personality trait. You also see this in commodities. But I can tell you not as much as what you'll see in frequency compared to cryptos. Wave 5 is quite often extended in cryptos on a daily scale. Now in the stock market, you'll see the wave 3 as the most consistently the wave, actionary wave, that is extended. And as I just said earlier, for cryptos, but not as much, for commodities, wave 5 will be the one that's extended. So I gave you the rules for 1 to 2, 4 to 1, and the requirement of wave 3 not being the shortest, The only rule for wave 5 that I have for myself is that it has to have 5 subwaves. That's right. So just as I said, these 5 waves are fractals. You can find 5 subwaves in wave 1. And you can find 5 subwaves in wave 3. And you can find 5 subwaves in wave 5. And if you drill down deep to these, each subwave of 1, 3, and 5, you will find 5 subwaves in the blue 1, 5 in the blue 3, 5 in the blue 5, and same thing else across here. That is what I mean by a fractal. This motive is a fractal. The same thing with the ABC retracement, the reactionary, the corrective waves. This itself is a fractal. After every 5 waves, there must be a requisite retracement. I've written those words and I've spoken those words consistently. And that requisite retracement, for now, I'm just going to call that ABC. Now let's add ABC to that fractal. So in this blue subwave 1, I'm going to see 5 subwaves in itself. And for the blue subwave 2, I'm going to see an ABC. For the blue subwave 3, I'm going to see 5 waves. And for the blue subwave 1, ABC. Why? I'm going 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. After every 5 waves, there must be an ABC 3-wave retracement, correction, reaction in the opposite direction. And that, to me, for now, sets the very basics of Elliott waves. And it sets the very important nature of the fractal nature, F-R-A-C-T-A-L, fractal nature of the waves. And there is a very important quote that I have, and I would refer you to the essay that I wrote on what is technical analysis, or better yet, is technical analysis a quantum event? And this describes how sentiment drives, based on Einstein's equation, imagine that, how sentiment drives price. And this is in my blog from yesterday, so please take a look at this to better understand and tie in the scope of this tutorial for today, the basic introduction of Elliott waves. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please post. And I strongly encourage you to take a look at this video with paper and pencil. Take notes, but at the same time, purchase that book, Elliott Wave Principle. As shown here, this book, Elliott Wave Principle by Frost and Proctor. Everything that I discussed today and more are contained in this text. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please consider also viewing this tutorial more than once to get it imprinted into your mind. And then more importantly, practice labeling if you can. So let's label this. So I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you must say, why didn't you put 1 here? Because 3 and 4 would have overlapped with 1. That would have been incorrect. I could find a subwave here, but that to me would have interrupted wave 5. So wave 1, 2 here is perfectly fine. 3, 4. You can even do this. Now here's where you get into the fact that Elliott waves can be labeled in more than one way, but still be correct. And I've said this also again multiple times in my prior blogs during the analysis, where yes, it can be labeled in different ways, but the destination will be the same. And that's what's the key to this whole thing. And if I have 5 waves here, what about my ABCs? Well, after 5 waves, ABCs is a requisite. So I have A, B, C. Could that be the C? I don't think so, because let me see why. This is not lower than that, but it can be, because there is a type of correction called a regular flat correction. So I'm going to call this a flat type. And we'll get into the corrections and the details of corrections and types of corrections. We'll even do a combination complex correction in real time next time. But this should be a good introduction. Thank you and have a good day.